What's up there, Workforce? Chris here with Work to Game, and it is time to talk about the live letter that just happened. It is bright and early. They just talked for 2.5 hours, and they talked about a lot. So they talked about what we know about 4.4 so far, what we know about 4.36 so far, what we know about Monster Hunter World, the collab between the two games, and then they talked a little bit about North American Fanfest tickets. So I'm going to be going in the order that they went in, and let's go ahead and get started. Now, I would like to thank our Patreons today. Thank you guys so much for your support. If you'd like to consider becoming one, link is in the description below. Now, the first thing they did is they talked about 4.36 and the introduction of pagos. So if I open up a link here to this beautiful image, we are getting this on August 7th. Now, that does mean, for those of you following the timeline here on this channel, BFA drops August 13th, so we're going to have 1 week to get in on this. That is going to be a lot. I am a little disappointed with how late it's coming out, but I think they really wanted to be ready for the Monster Hunter World collab. Now, with it coming out on the 7th, they did say that the Monster Hunter World collab will be going live the very same day. Now, they showed a little bit of gameplay. Let me see if I can get that footage for you. Now, we did get a chance to see that the world is going to be just as beautiful as honestly Eureka was, if not more so. So I'm really looking forward to diving into this. I appreciate the amount of footage they showed us. It didn't really seem to be anything too revealing. They do go a little bit into kind of the loot and everything, so I'll show you what screenshots they showed us. But for the most part, I think we're going to have to kind of sit tight until this gets a little bit closer to coming out. So plenty of time to speculate, plenty of time to get our heads going crazy about what it could be, but let's go ahead and just move on. Now, no surprise, there are going to be minions tied behind this, so they did go ahead and show us, not just one of those, but two. And they also showed us actually the Black Mage weapon and said this is not the fully upgraded weapon. It gets crazier from here. They did say the Paladin one was a little plain, so I wouldn't expect all the classes to look this awesome, but I'm really excited to see some new skins into the game, some new glamour, because that means even when this content is no longer relevant, you're still going to be glad you did it, and maybe even people will want to go back and do it, because that's always been an issue with content like this, is that once those expansions move on to the next level, Diadem, previous relics, Animos, and all that, they kind of get left by the wayside. Now, the next thing we talked about was the companion app. Last we had heard it was coming out with 4.3, then it was coming out July 28th. Then they said, but at the time they said July 28th, they said July 28th, but it may be pending 1 to 2 weeks depending on the app stores. And now it says officially late July, early August. So not horribly shocking that when they said it might be late, that it will be late. They built that time in, they're going to use it. And then they went over all the previous things as far as how it's going to get used, what it's going to do, things like scheduling, chat. You're going to have these little nuts that you can use to either list or buy items. You're going to get, I think, 1 free nut a day or 2 if you're on the paid version. And there's going to be coins that can kind of supplement the nuts, but the coins are done with real money. And it's all the same information. And yes, we still don't have it. So already I can see ways this app looks like it might disappoint me without dropping too much of my opinion in here. And the fact that we've had to wait so long, it's hard to get that excited about it. And they did remind us that the prelims are underway. So for those of you that love the feast, I'm sure you're already getting in on this, hoping to get a chance at those free Fanfest tickets, all inclusive, everything like that. I wish you the best of luck. I am not that good at PvP in this game, and the wait times, at least on my server and everything, are just preposterously long. So it's just not a piece of content that I'm getting in on, but I am really glad it's there, and I'm glad that they talked about this, and I hope this turns into something big. Now, we're about to jump into patch 4.4, so this is where the beginning of possible spoilers, possible excitement gets started. So it is going to be called Prelude in Violet. So hopefully that'll kind of give us a clue. Wouldn't be shocked if our Dogu or whatever is Violet, makes sense. And that this is coming mid-September. So it's still a ways out, and we're going to have another live letter that goes over this quite a bit more as it gets closer. And that they said mid-September, so I would expect maybe that 2nd or 3rd Tuesday in September. And of course, we're going to get a new main scenario. There will be Hildebrand at the 4.45. There will be new expansion to Dome and Reconstruction, new side story for the Four Lords. There will be some new side quests, new instance dungeons. The new instance dungeons, they have tentative names. One is called The Burn. I would expect those names to be updated, but the dungeons are, of course, already being developed. They wouldn't just start now, and they're kind of just teasing this for what they said were lore nerds. And then Saint Mocrane's Arboretum, hard, and Mokianes, I don't know, not good at reading today, and that we could expect to see, reasons for why the land is so bare, and that we're gonna have to play the MSQ to find out why the burn looks like this. So I was pretty excited that they showed us a little bit of a screenshot. We do know that our new trial is going to be Suzaku, and so that is our obviously that will get a name and everything like that. They usually don't hide the name. There's only been a handful of times, like in the last one, Tsukiyomi, and then there will of course be an extreme version of that. Now the next thing they're getting to is Omega, and Omega is going under kind of a weird name thing here, so I wonder if we're moving backward. This is Alphascape and Alphascape Savage, so it'll be interesting to see exactly how that plays in, especially for those of you following the story. Will Omega be summoned? Will Omega join the fray? These are all questions they just kind of teased out there without answering. And then we jump into job adjustments. So the biggest request that we had lately that they're ready to address is role actions. For those of you that aren't familiar with what that is, because maybe you're new to the game, basically you can, as you level up, you have these slots that open up so that you can have things designated to your role, tank, healer, etc. And the big issue is that people feel, especially with some roles, that there's an optimal set and that they don't have the flexibility to try the others. Although if you expand the number of slots, really there's just going to be a new optimal set. And so they said, we're going ahead and increasing the slots. And they didn't just increase them, they said they're increasing it to 10. So in my opinion, that's all of them. I mean, okay, Yoshida literally was just like, yeah. So I guess he just decided we're just going to cave on that. I'm kind of disappointed that they did that. But for those of you that were hoping for more role actions, you got them. This will come in patch 4.4. Then we jump into PvP updates. I assume that a lot of this is tentative with the feast stuff going on right now. I don't think they're going to be doing anything too crazy. They said that they're doing some new layouts that are going to be adjustable on the Wolfston Pier. There's going to be a new timed attack. That's obviously tentative name added to the quick chat. And this is going to just go around. Hopefully coming out of Pagos, we're going to have more information than all of this. So we know that Eureka is getting another installment in 4.4. I assume based on how late into 4.3 we're getting our second installment that the third one will be at least 4.45, if not 4.46, and they'll hold it all the way until right before 4.5. And the nice thing about that is that does mean that whatever our last patch of this expansion cycle is, whether that be 4.5 or 4.6, that it really does give us a relic that could ride right up against the expansion, so you don't end up with that lull that these MMOs are known for, where there's just this whole window where it's like, why am I even subscribed outside of the fact that I pre-ordered the next version? So hopefully that timing kind of works out well to keep these patches live. There will be a new region added, not shocking. Said it won't be anywhere cold anymore, and that the logo system will be added. So moving right along, we do know that there's going to be new weapon upgrades. We do know that they didn't say anything about armor, and they said that, you know, as far as talking about side content, that we will be getting new pieces of Lost Canals. Lost Canals will get a new dungeon added there, was how they phrased it, and it will be randomized. So, but they're randomized, in my opinion, now, in that you choose left or you choose right. Gathering and crafting is getting some more updates. We're going to get some new recipes. I assume this is just tied to all the new content, so that's not really shocking. New fishing holes will be added. The Doman, that seems that's going to be added for the Doman Enclave, so I guess we're going to be fishing there. I wonder if you're going to have to unlock the new section of the Doman Enclave to maybe like stabilize some kind of fishing area. But that's kind of cool, and then we'll have some custom delivery adjustments to go with that. Now, for those of you that aren't max rank with your Grand Company, you do know that to get to max rank, you're going to have to be engaging with the squadron system. I think we have a beginner guide somewhere here on the channel, and basically, once that squadron is at cap, and once you have it far enough along, there's no reason to keep doing it other than the fact that you want to get them all to 60. So I'm at my max rank, and we finally have another rank so we can hold more seals. This is Captain, and this is going to be locked behind what appears to be new command missions and new squadron add-ons. And there goes my cup of coffee. Thank goodness that was empty. Now we will be getting some housing updates. This seems to be a theme with every single patch. And this is going to be the mannequins. This has long been requested. There's going to be that you can equip gear to them, that they're going to be linkable to the auction house, so that you can list things like as a set. So you can build maybe for like the fashion update or whatever. You can say like, here's all the items and buy them in bulk, which is pretty neat. I wonder if you'll be able to kind of buy just individual pieces or if it'll be all or nothing. And then I also kind of think, well, it didn't sound like it had to be linked to the auction house, but if it does, and you're just choosing whether or not to have that listing active, then is it going to be equipable with market prohibited items? And we'll just have to see. I know it's a long awaited piece of content, so hopefully the rollout is nice and smooth on that. Now, part 2 is supposed to demonstrate this with gameplay. So that should put us a lot more in the know going into 4.4 long before the live date, at least a couple weeks before the live date. You'll be able to compile all the glamours you want, heads, legs, place it on there immediately and make it purchasable. Now there will be new customization features added as well. So that should be for housing. So we'll have to, that's things like they're going to be at a role play status. If you want your house to make it like a little shop or a cafe or anything like that. And then we're getting some gold saucer updates. There will be a new gate, which is, you know, those platforming puzzles and things like that. And they actually teased out that you're really going to be able to test your jump ability, and you guys are going to be really excited with this next screenshot. If you're anything like me, I have been wanting to do a jump in Rogger's Reach or something for a long time. I haven't finished the one in Kugane, and not for lack of trying. I have spent hours and hours. I can make it I'm I think like 2 little stages, 2 like big jumps away from it, so I get really high enough that if you could fall all the way, if it weren't for the soft core aspect of falling in this game, that would long be beyond the point where I would think it would kill my character, maybe even without a respawn. I am so high up there, and yet the people who do that and then jump down to that light post, you're a lot ballsier than me. Haven't been able to manage. So this will allow up to 120 players, and it says blame Godbert for this. Now, they're going to do this with more landmarks. Now, next, Eternal Bond updates. This makes sense because the marriage system is something people really engage with, and once you've done it once, there's really no way for them to monetize it and for you to feel like you're continuing to engage with it. And guess what? We are getting anniversary ceremonies. We don't know much more than that right now, but that is something that's coming to the game. You're going to be able to invite friends, open party, and kind of do things like relive through those ceremonies. There will be new poses and stuff like that, so hopefully that's something that you guys have been looking forward to. I am personally unmarried in the game, and so an anniversary is not something that I've felt the need for quite yet. You're going to be, now as we talk about group posing, there's going to be minion actions, player walking. They said, I believe, that weather and time will be able to be locked now, so you can get it exactly the way you want it. And if anybody's been looking for the chance to get that perfect screenshot and you've been just short, they're getting there. They're getting there. There's going to be new screen effects. And then they say, of course, with 4.4, we're going to be getting a new tombstone. We knew that. Crystal Tower requirements will be revised. We know that at that point, mendacity will move to being unlocked because it'll become that kind of second-tier tome. And then they said the duty recorder is going to be updated. It's going to have the number of duties that you can do it with increased, and honestly, I was kind of excited about this piece of content. It wasn't something I really expected when they first announced it, but a lot like a lot of other systems in this game, they released it in kind of a partial state, and then by the time they get around to revising it, I have trouble being super excited about this. So I think they would really have to do something like just say, now it's available for all duties, for me to get really excited, because it's something that I was really looking forward to seeing at least content creators push out guides made with this. It was something I was looking forward to playing with and seeing people. I would love to see somebody like Larry Czar use this to make just hilarious stuff, and they've really limited our ability to take advantage of a tool like this. The Unending Journey features are expanded. That's going to allow you to do things like pick dialogue choices and stuff like that. So if you've wanted to go back and kind of play through that, That restriction's now been lifted, and now configuration data on your UI and stuff, you can now save that to the server. And that's really important for people that change locations. They especially mentioned like internet cafes. So if you get your system all set up just the way you want, you don't have to back up the data to your PC anymore. You can back it up to the server and then wherever you log back in. Now it's not doing it automatically, so if you are playing somewhere and you want to make a slight change for where you're playing, just for that, just don't save it, because you are going to manually choose to update that save. But that's meant for people that want to go to like a cyber cafe or something to bring their HUD with them. Now that was all the information we got on 4.4, and then they moved into kind of their intermission. That's where they take 10 minutes and they show how excited they were to be kind of at E3, and that's usually where they show, you know, different pictures from different events that have happened since the last live letter, and they're really good about engaging with their fans. If you're not following the Final Fantasy XIV channel over on Twitch, they do have live streams from time to time. They of course jump language to language, so you'll need to kind of pay attention to the ones that, assuming by the fact you're watching this video, are in English. But it is great how often they have these events and stuff out in the world. These were some of the events that we knew were announced, the different cosplay and stuff. So we knew that the Eorzea Symphony and stuff, we knew those events were going on. And so it was nice that they got a chance to kind of show us screenshots from that. And there was, you know, I'm sure there were a lot of people that were excited that went to this to kind of see maybe their face was up there or somebody they knew made it into the video. Now, for those of you who haven't had a chance to follow recent live letters and things in the past, we are getting a collab with Monster Hunter World. This is a big deal because it's a game outside of Square Enix. It's another big game. It's huge in Japan, and they are having a cross collab. Now we are sending, I don't remember which boss over there, and that is actually going to be getting an extreme fight in there, which was very, very cool. And then they are sending the boss over here, which is going to be a trial fight, a mid-patch trial fight. Very, very cool. It's going to be done as a 4-man, because I guess that's traditional to Monster Hunter World. And if you die like 3 times, it resets. Those of you that play Monster Hunter World will know. Basically, they brought a lot of the mechanics for over there and just kind of shoved them into our system. So it's going to be very confusing to people like me that really only watch Monster Hunter World. I don't know all the mechanics. I don't know how all that works. So that is coming out, of course, the same day as Pagos, like I said earlier. So for those of you in Monster Hunter World, you're going to be getting a free title update August 2nd. They're making like a whole event out of this. I'll kind of show some of the stuff from Monster Hunter World. I don't really know what any of these slides really mean. I play a lot of games, but Monster Hunter World is just not one I've been able to make time for. So they did say, you know, kind of, it's Behemoth, there it is, and there's going to be obtainable different items and stuff like that. And then as we start to talk about what we're getting, well, these are the things we're sending over there. So you can imagine that we're getting some fantastic loot on our side. So they showed it over here, and we are getting this guy as a minion. Pretty excited about that. And let's see, and then here we go. Here's our glamour gear. And so yeah, I was really excited. I think it looked good. It looks like we're getting some pets. I would love to see this thing as kind of a mount in the game. It looks like that's what it's getting. New minions, new mounts, all sorts of rewards from this collab event, and it will come out on August 7th. So Rathalos will be coming to the game as a trial and as a trial extreme. Same day, it will be patch 4.36. And for those of you that don't own Monster Hunter World, at least in Japan, that game's going to be on sale. So I know that today, I think, is Amazon Prime Day. So kind of while you have that sale mindset in your head, keep in mind that there could very well be sale on Monster Hunter World that same time. Wouldn't shock me if that made it to the North American market. They didn't confirm that or anything, but that would be pretty exciting. So it's going to be 4-man only for Extreme. Normal mode will be 8 players. Extreme mode will have auto raise, but you can only feint up to 3 times. So failing to kill him up to 3 times in this will fail the duty immediately. They couldn't release it the way they wanted to because the game isn't M for mature, and so they actually wanted there to be like limbs and stuff that got, I assume, torn off by the fact that they said it was blocked by the rating board, but that they couldn't make the fight exactly what they wanted, but that they were pretty excited about it. You will need to be level 70, you will need to have completed the Stormblood MSQ, and you will need to have eye level 320. So it is meant for kind of current characters, so if you are coming back to the game right now and you are wondering if you should be caught up before this drops, drops? The answer is absolutely yes. Now, the main scenario quest required is Stormblood. I don't know exactly where that falls in the line, but hopefully that kind of answers, you know, something if you want to look that up. In general, I would recommend that if you have that icon in the top left hand of your screen that says you haven't completed storyline, you should probably get to that, because the amount of times that new content comes out and it's locked behind that is pretty much every time. For Extreme, it is going to be 4 players, eye level 350, so you're getting a little further up there. Not that 350 is unobtainable, but it's definitely a solid set of gear. So if you haven't been doing any form of progression to get your gear level up, and this is something you're really looking forward to, you've got some time, get after it. Now, they did say there aren't going to be any weapons from this, but it's just going to be a full set of armor, and due to lore reasons, obviously this can't, they said due to lore reasons for Monster Hunter World, this can't be a drop. It'll be just like Monster Hunter World, where you'll get a token and you'll take from Rothlos, and you'll take that from an NPC, and they'll forge the equipment. He tried to imagine how Eorzean crafters could come up with the gear without just copying over Rothlos gear. So there'll be 2 versions, a non-dyeable version or a non-dyed version and a dyeable version. So there's going to be some new housing stuff, so I assume that we'll be getting different items related to kind of what's going on with that fight. I was really excited about this pig. I don't know what goes on with it in Monster Hunter World, but I definitely want it as a pet. And then, as I showed earlier, there's that kind of like pilot cat. Once again, I'm not a Monster Hunter World player. I like watching the game. I love watching Ethos stream the game. And it's something that I've never found the time to squeeze into my schedule. I'm glad Brian plays it, because I think it would be a bummer if at least somebody on this channel couldn't talk to what this game is. Now, this event has no end. It will be permanent. This is not a temporary collab event. That doesn't mean you shouldn't try to get in on it while it's pretty current, because the wait times are going to be nice and short. But they said that they don't have any intention of this collab event ending. Now, just a reminder, they said that at this point we are going to have discounted prices, but they show them all in Japan. So I don't know if they're going to be discounted here in the US, but I would definitely keep an eye out if you're kind of on the fence on whether or not to buy that game, and a lower price would help you make that push. Now, for those of you that have been upset in the last week, it is time to talk about Fanfest. And of course, they've talked a little bit about, keep in mind that the live letter is for the whole world, so they talked a little bit about kind of what's going on with Paris and Tokyo, and knowing that it's coming up towards that time when they're going to probably consider selling the tickets for Paris. But they said it's time to talk about what happened in North America, because obviously the other 2 regions are paying attention to this. And basically that in 2016, it took 10 hours to sell out all the tickets. This time they actually sold more tickets. They worked very hard to make sure this was all set, and it only took 2 minutes for the queue to fill. So what ended up happening is 6,000 people hit queue within 2 minutes. So if you did not get a clean refresh within 2 minutes, there was no chance at you getting tickets. Now, everybody in that 2 minutes was in the wait queue, and there were over 6,000 people in it. It almost crashed the servers, and so what they did is to keep it from crashing the servers, what was crashing it was people were pushing in access codes, and I imagine every time there's a typo or a request, it's just slamming that, and so they did have to turn off the access code very, very briefly. Now, to those of you saying, oh, the bots took advantage of that, first of all, how could the bots have known that that was going to be an opening? Second of all, it's not like the bots got to choose whether or not they were one of the ones that wasn't asked for an access code. And that doesn't stop the fact that it asked me to put my names on my first and last name on tickets. Doesn't stop me the fact that it asked me to put my character and server on my tickets. So these are all things that I don't know how anybody would have prepped a bot for the form that came. And since you weren't like trying to auto refresh, having instant reaction time wasn't really that helpful. The only time reaction time mattered, in my opinion, was right when the time ticked over. I refreshed my browsers, and then you wait, because it said refreshing more than that will get you kicked out. So I don't know where a bot helps with this. I know that's a whole nother topic, and this isn't the time to dive into it. But they said that there was approximately 500 of the 6,000 people in the queue were given the option that if they got to buy tickets, they didn't have to insert their access code. They didn't say those people didn't have access codes. So then what they went through and did is they were able to go through and look at those people and look at the characters they put in, look at the names they put on there. I don't know that the credit card information would have been turned from the vendor over to them, but they were able to go through and try to verify, and they were able to say, okay, we don't see any of those 500 people that weren't active subscribers. And keep in mind, saying that non-active subscribers are able to go to FanFest, that's already true because you can buy up to 4 tickets per access code. So I can bring 3 of my non-Final Fantasy friends with me as long as I get through the queue. Now it's just me and Brian that got through with me, so we were both active subscribers, but it didn't have to be. If I wanted to bring my wife and Brian's wife, well, Brian's wife's a subscriber, I could have bought 4 tickets, we could have gone as a double date, and my wife has never played a Final Fantasy game a day in her life. And she could have got in off of my access code. So I know a lot of people are upset about this. I really appreciate them talking about it. It was kind of my initial response that I just expect them to talk about it today. And actually, Foxclaw took the time to talk in English. And for those of you that maybe haven't watched the live letters in the past, these guys are not that comfortable talking in English, not because they can't do it, but because they're afraid to make mistakes and they want to be respectful. So they let us get these kind of translations and then they push out real translations later. So I watch a live translation, so it's always kind of partial. And then they don't do it in English for a reason. They're very uncomfortable. And he made this entire statement in English. I cannot imagine how much he practiced to make sure that with something so sensitive, he wasn't making a mistake. So I do think they were sorry for this. And what they said is ultimately we understand that there was a demand. We couldn't have seen that it was going to go up by that much. And they couldn't find any proof of ineligible purchases. But it is something that shouldn't happen. So next time, they should consider a larger audience. They should consider how to make sure that more people can get in the queue. And so more people, so maybe working with a larger service or working with that service to make sure that they're prepared. So for example, if the Final Fantasy ticket sales in Japan are using the lottery system, but North America is first come, first serve, maybe they need to consider revising that. And so maybe, I don't know if maybe they don't send everybody a code. Maybe they send out codes and then that code determines whether or not you're able to buy tickets at all. And so I don't know. We'll just have to see. If we deem this method unacceptable, just know that all we're asking for is change. We're not going to get to decide what that change is. So if you had 2 friends get through this time and you didn't and you're upset at the way it was done, just know with a lottery system, it's possible that none of you guys get in. So it's just going to be random. And Brian and I were very fortunate to get in. I think it's just luck. And I'm really sorry to everybody who didn't, and I appreciate them addressing this. Keep in mind that the live version is free this time, and that the minion and the mount are purchasable. So for much less than the cost of a FanFest ticket, you can go out and get basically the equivalent thing without being able to see the concerts, which isn't the part I'm most excited about, and without kind of being there. So I am excited to go. I'm very excited. It'll be my first FanFest. But for everybody who isn't able to go, they did kind of, there's a relatively decent alternative compared to years past. Now, counting from the day that this game became good, because I think the game's much older than this, this is the 5th anniversary of Final Fantasy. So hopefully we'll be getting kind of more than just our 14-hour broadcast. Hopefully we'll be getting something kind of exciting. We'll see. They said they have a special challenge prepared for us. And that this is scheduled for Friday, August 31st at 8 p.m. To Saturday, September 1st at 10 a.m. Keep in mind that times with Final Fantasy are always in PDT. The easiest way to check it is rather than do the math in your head, just Google, 10 a.m. PDT in whatever your time zone may be. They're starting to do things like talk about merchandise. As they get later into here, this is always when they do merchandise and stuff like that. They led with, I think, a lot of the announcements because they were trying to keep on time and they were trying to keep the Monster Hunter World guys. Anytime you're working with another major developer, you have to be respectful of their schedules because this is in the middle of the day for them. And they were hesitant to talk too much about all the new eStore stuff. So, they may not have released enough details here because actually the eStore went down during all of this. And so I think that they didn't want to just totally focus, oh, go buy it now. But they are having, chances to vote on your favorite songs. And they're actually talking about Gamescom 2018. And this is Yoshida's seventh consecutive year. And so he's excited to be there. And they're going to be hosting another battle challenge this year, along with stage events and things like that. So if you are getting a chance to go to something like Gamescom, always good to see Final Fantasy XIV represented at anything that they can be. Eorzea Symphony is going to Germany next. So if you were jealous and didn't get a chance to make it over here, and I believe that was LA, then maybe you can see it in Germany. Maybe that's closer to your neck of the woods. And then the cafe that they sometimes show from time to time that always has interesting dishes. I know this doesn't fit most of the North American market. We're not ever going to find ourselves at the Yokohama Eorzea Cafe, but I did love this kind of this tower, this heaven on high. I think they called it heaven on. It translated roughly to heaven on fried. So it looks like onion rings, and it's on like a, I don't know, like a chopstick sticking straight up. So it's I thought it was so funny. I'm sure it's not that great of a presentation in person, but I would totally get down on some of that. And then the big piece of merchandise that I was most excited about was the Eorzea Encyclopedia is getting a part 2. Now, they did say that this was 300 newly worked pages, and I know that some people might read that as 300 new pages. That's not really what that means. That means 300 pages that have been part of a new work, in my opinion. So I wouldn't be shocked if some of the information in there is a carryover from part 1, but I also wouldn't be shocked if everything was new. That's the problem with going on a partial translation, is we don't know exactly what this is. It's going to go for sale November 24th. And for those of you kind of doing the calendar dates on that, that means if you're going to FanFest, you're going to get a chance to buy it there. It's only going to be $50. I don't remember how much the first one was, but pre-orders are going to be available. They're available. They already have a link down in the corner for Japanese ones. They said that the pre-order should start today, and so they are scheduling their debut for FanFest in Las Vegas, and that the English version will have its pre-orders announced at a later time, maybe next live letter. And so hopefully for everybody that's not going to FanFest that wants one of those, they'll have a chance to kind of deal with that pre-order then. And when you get this, you are going to be getting an in-game item. You'll be getting, you know, this nice hat here. Very cool. And that's it. That's the whole 2.5 hours, short and to the point. There wasn't a whole lot of things about, you know, I know a lot of people get excited about things like balance changes and stuff like that. For those of you that haven't been following live letters, part 1 never really includes that. So I think this was a really solid part 1. And then part 2 is where we start to get a little more of a tease of kind of those pre-patch notes, and they start to show gameplay of some of these elements. And so I think for this, the one thing I took away is Pagos is releasing a lot later into the patch cycle than I expected. I thought it would be dropping maybe as soon as next Tuesday, and instead we're not getting it until August. So I think that we're going to have a very long gap here for those of you that are already kind of done with Heaven on High, and so maybe this is a good time to try any other game. Maybe go play Monster Hunter World. You know, it is kind of just that lull time of year. It is mid-patch, so this is a great time to be leveling up your alternate classes, getting in on crafting systems, trying out these parts of the game that you haven't really had a chance to engage with because you're usually too busy running the new dungeons over and over, pushing through new progress, trying to keep up with the amount of content that they put out early expansion. So this is a really unique time in an expansion cycle where everybody kind of has a little bit of whatever piece of content it is they're looking for. So hopefully it's a great time to get out there and just dive into that and stick with it until you get whatever it is you're going for, that achievement, that minion, whatever that long-term reward that you're looking for is. It's a great time to farm that. So I was really happy with today's presentation. I was happy that they addressed the FanFest thing. It's awesome to know that this game is big enough that you have 6,000 people in North America that are ready to buy tickets for them and possibly other people. That means there's debatably over 6,000 people that were ready to spend $150 to be at this event within the first 2 minutes. That means that there's well over 6,000 people that were willing to go. And I think that's a really good sign for a strong game. At that point, it becomes a question of what is a feasible physical venue that they can go for, cost-wise and execution-wise, and how big do they want this event to be, and are they consistently going to just do 3, or are they considering, you know, one of the things they could do to limit demand is they could go ahead and start splitting it apart. You could have, just like we have Primal and Aether, you could have a West Coast and an East Coast going on back-to-back weeks with the same information or slightly different information or something like that, because I think very few people would want to go to one on the West Coast and one on the East Coast. And so if they're willing to kind of consider becoming more event planners or doing this annually or something like that, I think they could pull from that demand. It's obviously there. What they do to make sure that the ticket sales are fair and that they don't have as many upset people next time is a tough question, because anytime you have a demand that significantly outweighs supply by the fact that you literally can't even service the people that are available within the first 2 minutes, yeah, there's always going to be people upset. There's always going to be people that feel it's not fair. It could be me and Brian that don't get tickets next time. it just is that way, and it's a sign of a good game, so that's the silver lining, but it unfortunately means that no matter what solution they come up with, in my opinion, it's not going to be perfect. So I appreciate them making the effort to make a statement during the live letter in English that just kind of explains they understand the frustration and they want to work to address it. They're just not sure how, as of today, that they are able to. And I think all they're focused on is how do they keep this from happening in Europe and then Japan, and then they have 2 years to figure this out for us here in the US. So I wouldn't expect any big solutions or any big promises yet. We have a long time until this is our problem again. Let them focus on the other 2 conventions. Let them focus on getting an expansion out properly and on time, and then they can go back to focusing on what they're going to do for 6.0's FanFest. So thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you guys so much for hanging out. This has been Chris with Work to Game. We try to do these summaries every single live letter. When it comes to patch notes and stuff, a lot of times we have a long version with Brian and a short version with me. But when it comes to live letter, a lot of times I'll just do a nice and short version, because if you didn't have a chance to watch a partial translation starting at, my time was 4 in the morning for 2.5 hours, I am here to save you the time, so thank you. Hopefully this at least got you excited about part or all of everything that was talked about today. I'm sure the real translation will be pushed over to English sometime in the next week or so when it comes over. You can always try to go find it on Discord or Reddit. There's plenty of copies out there if you want to see a written version or all the slides that people have screenshotted. I kind of just pulled up the ones that I thought were most significant. Didn't leave out a whole lot outside of maybe pictures of pagos, pictures of there was quite a bit of footage and everything shown. I mean, like I said, we had 2.5 hours. So thank you again. Have a fantastic day. I'll see you next time.
Hey, it's me. I'm in Chris's office. He doesn't know it, but we've got other videos for you to check out right here. And we've got the vlog down there in the corner. Plus, we've got some contact information, and you can totally subscribe to the channel that way as well. So we hope you do. We hope to see you in our next video. But until then, take care.